Farmhouse decor is some of my all-time favorite to DIY, so in today's video I'm going to take you step by step showing you how you can make your very own farmhouse decor with these 5 easy projects. So let's jump into our first DIY. For this DIY, I picked up one of these letter boards from Chalk Couture. These are actually going to be launching on July 11th along with all of their autumn collection. So my idea was to make one of these seasonal that I could switch out for every season, every holiday. So I wanted to start with a farmhouse theme. I also grabbed the letterboard transfers with all the letters and symbols. You can also grab extra chalkable chip white tiles for your letterboard. So in this project, I will use all of the letterboard pieces it comes with, plus one extra letterboard from this pack. So I just started by cutting out each of my letters and laying them on top of those chalkable chip tiles. I am going to spell out Home Sweet Farm. So any of the letters that I need duplicate letters for, so like the E's and the M, I'm just going to chalk on top of those, remove that transfer, and then lay it right back down on top of the other tiles. So I just repeated that step for all of the extra letters that I needed. And then for the rest, I'm just taking that same black velvet chalk paste, pasting on top of each letter, removing the transfer, and then moving on to the next letter. I will wash these so that I can use them over and over and over again and have them for many projects to come in the future. And like I said, I want to do this for holidays and seasons, so I'm going to need these letters to last me a while, so I want to make sure I wash them and take care of them so I can use them again. Next, we made this cutout specifically to go along with the Chalk Couture letterboard. It fits perfectly in there. I'm also going to take an extra white tile plus a scrap piece of wood from our stash and glue those together so that I can make this piece interchangeable and I can take the large cutout in and out of the letterboard. So I just grabbed some E6000, putting it on the back of my wood. I also grabbed a little bit of some wood super glue to give that more instant hold, and I'm going to glue this right on top of our white tile. Now you don't necessarily have to use the white tile. In fact, if I had thought about this earlier, I would have just made my own little cutout to slide in and out instead of having to use that white tile. And then I'm going to paint my chicken, pig, and cow with this Americana paint in aloe. I love this color. It's very farmhouse, and I thought it would work perfectly for this DIY, so I just gave it all one good coat. I am going to be using a Chalk Couture transfer on top, so what I'm going to do is use the Chalk Couture surface wax. Now I use this because my wood is porous and it's going to help with bleeding. Any kind of porous surface, I personally like adding the Chalk Couture wax on top to prevent that bleeding. That's just my personal preference, so I go through and add that wax just all over my entire surface. Now I'm going to take the farmhouse patterns and I use the chicken wire transfer on this one. I'm going to take that chicken wire transfer, lay it on top of my cow, smooth it all out so it's all nice and stuck down to it, and then I'll use my bright white chalk paste and chalk right over that cow. Now I'm going to do this in sections because the chicken wire isn't big enough to cover the entire piece. So I do my cow first, I pull up that transfer and I dry the paste on my cow, and then I'll take that transfer and lay it right down on top of the pig and the chicken and just do the same thing, taking a squeegee and my chalk paste, and I just chalk right over the entire thing, lift that transfer up, and there you have it. Now we cut out some pieces to be able to slide in and out of our letterboards. I want everything to be very interchangeable. I don't want to glue anything down to the letterboard, so I want everything to be able to move. So we cut out a couple different pieces. You're going to have these longer pieces that can slide in and out, and then I put in some shorter pieces that we can glue together if you want your pieces to be raised higher than the letterboard itself. Hopefully that makes sense. But I'm just starting by painting all of my pieces because I want these to kind of blend in with the letterboard itself so you don't have that natural wood showing through. Now I slid my large piece through for my chicken, pig, and cow, and I am going to add some wood glue super glue to it and then lay my pig down right on top of it so that I have it centered exactly where I want it. And then I picked up a whole bunch of paper flowers from Hobby Lobby. So I'm going to show you here, I have two different size pieces. One is long enough to slide into the letterboard. The second one is purely just to add height for my flowers. If you are gluing your flowers directly onto that back piece, when you're sliding them in and out, those flowers are going to get caught on the letterboard and they're not going to slide as easy. So that's why I added that extra piece just to give it a little bit more height. So I'm just going to glue those together and then I will start gluing on my paper flowers. So I put my pieces where I wanted them to be and then just started gluing each flower to it. Again, I made these thin enough so you should be able to cover up the backing with the flowers and then you can't even see the backing there. So I just used some hot glue, glued all of those on, and I did that for 3 different bundles of flowers. So I made a bow using some ribbon from Hobby Lobby. Now I am not a bow maker professional. I couldn't even tell you how I made this because it was just kind of a mess and I just made a bunch of loops and twists and tried to get this together as best as I could. It's mostly held up with glue, so if you're looking for a good bow tutorial, I would recommend looking elsewhere on YouTube, trying to find how to make some bows. I have to watch them all the time and this is just kind of how mine turned out. So make whatever kind of bow you want to make. I also made a twine bow to go on top of it and I'm just going to glue that to the middle of the first bow that I made, and I'll glue that bow on top of the wood slide outs that we made so that the bow can slide in and out as well. And that's all you got to do for this. I think this is so much fun. So I'm just showing you again, all of my pieces are glued to these pieces that can slide in and out. And you can rearrange this however you want. You can do this for every season, every holiday. So the chicken, pig, and cow and the little sliding in backer pieces will be available on my website, moorevinyldecals.com, and you can go shop those and recreate this entire piece. And then, like I said before, the letterboard itself should be available on July 11th on Chalk Couture's website when they launch all of their autumn goodies. If you are a designer with Chalk Couture, you should be able to shop this right now. A huge thank you to all of you for supporting me on my channel over the years. We just hit 100,000 subscribers. I'm just so blown away by all of your guys' kindness. I couldn't have done it with all of you, so I'll be holding a 100,000 subscriber giveaway. Stay tuned while I gather up all the supplies and the goodies and announce that giveaway next week. For this DIY, we are going to grab this barn cutout that is available on my website. This is the largest one that we carry in size. I'm going to start by painting it with some white chalk paint. I painted the entire thing. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with it at this point, so I just painted the whole thing white, kind of unevenly. I wasn't worried about getting a solid white coat, so you can still see some of that wood showing through. I grabbed some tape and I'm going to tape off the bottom half-ish, most of the bottom half. Now I messed up a ton on this DIY and I wanted to show you all of my mistakes so that I can help you prevent the same mistakes in the future. So I started by staining my piece. I didn't enjoy that color of stain and how it was looking, so I grabbed my Waverly Wax and Antique and I started putting wax on top of that and then just kind of used it like a stain, wiped off all the excess. I loved the more kind of red tones in the wax, so that's why I switched to that. The next thing I did was grab this ruler and use it as a guide to draw some ship up lines on the white portion of my barn. I'm just doing that with a pencil and then I'll take my finger and kind of smudge that line in, giving it a more faded look than a very harsh look from the pencil. I also took my pencil and drew some little circles on each line, top and bottom, just to kind of make it look like nail holes, just another little detail that I added. Next, I grabbed a chip brush, used the wax, and did a little dry brushing around the sides, made some little dash marks throughout the barn, just tried to distress it up a little bit. I also repeated that step with some black paint, and then just to tone everything down, make everything look a little bit more faded, I'm taking some sandpaper and going over the entire piece, trying to get some of that natural wood to show back through. Next, I created this cut file that says "Country Roads Take Me Home to the Place Where I Belong." This is available on our website for free, so you can download it and create the same project if you'd like, or use this for a different project. So I just cut this out using my CRICUT Joy. I added my transfer tape from Expressions Vinyl. Now, here is where I started running into issues. So what I would typically do is add a top coat to my piece just to make it so that the vinyl sticks to it a little bit better. Vinyl does not enjoy sticking to wood or to chalk paint, and now I've learned to wax, which should have been very clear to me from the beginning, but I just was not thinking about this at the time. So I added my transfer on there, and I got the words on the white paint to stick, not as well as I would have liked them to, but I did get them to stay down. Now for the wax portion, those vinyl words are not going to stick to your wax. So I tried my best to get them to stick down and it just wasn't working. So I decided to just pull up that last sentence, that last couple words that was sticking to the wax itself, and recut it. While it was recutting, I added some Mod Podge on top of the wax to try to act as a barrier. I use Mod Podge a lot when doing this, just so that I can have a more hard surface, more of a smooth finish, I should say, to get your vinyl to stick to it. Now, the Mod Podge combination with the wax, it just did not work. I let that Mod Podge dry all the way, but even still, when I cut out my vinyl, laid it on top of my piece with the transfer tape, that transfer tape just pulled everything off. The Mod Podge, the wax, just everything. So, third time's a charm in this project. Learn from my mistakes. Don't use wax and Mod Podge together. You could try the wax and some polyurethane if you want. I haven't tried that combination yet, but I would imagine that it would work as long as you let that polyurethane dry all the way. So I ended up mixing some acrylic paints, sanding off that wax and Mod Podge as best as I could, and repainting the bottom portion. I did add polyurethane on top of this and let it dry completely overnight. Then cut out my transfer for a third time and got it to stick to my piece. So here is my final piece. I love the way it turned out in the end. It was a process to get here because I am just like everybody else, a crafter who makes tons and tons of mistakes, and I'm learning as I go. So take the advice here and what to do and what not to do. But this is how it turns out. I think this is super adorable, very farmhouse, very country, and I just love it. Again, you can shop that barn and download that SVG for free on my website, moorevinyldecals.com. Now, as I was scrolling through Pinterest for some inspiration on some farmhouse things, I stumbled upon this sign by RusticDesignsKY. I had never seen her stuff before, and I was blown away by her talent, and I loved this sign, and I knew I wanted to recreate one as my own. So I will leave all of her information in the description box below so that you can check her out. If you love farmhouse stuff, you are going to love her items. For this DIY, I grabbed a scrap piece of wood that I had in my stash. This was actually a cutout that we were going to use for somebody's order, but the corner did not cut out very well, and so we couldn't send it to our customer, so I decided to use it for myself. I'm going to grab some of this Chalk Couture paste in Camel, and I'm going to use a little bit of that mixed with some water to create a thinner paste, more like a stain. I liked this warm, rich color, but I didn't have that in a stain, so I just made my own. So I am going to paint all of the sides and edges. I'm not going to paint all the way in because I want to do a layered paint look to this. So I'm going to start out with this. I'm going to let that completely dry. And then I'm going to go in with some white paint. I didn't make any lines. I just kind of guessed about how even I wanted all the sides to be, so it's not perfect. I just kind of went with it. So again, I'm going to make another rectangle around the entire piece with this white paint, but I'm not going to paint the entire middle. Now I took this ruler that I had and I used it as a guide to draw a rectangle in the middle of my sign. So I made sure that the top, the bottom, and the sides were all the same size. And I just took that ruler and drew some lines to get a nice rectangle in the middle of my sign. I taped off the edges so that I had nice, clean, sharp edges, and I painted the middle of my sign with this black chalk paint from Waverly, and I just gave it one good coat. I took my pencil and I started drawing cow spots along the white portion of my sign. We're going to make these cow spots blend into the black part of the sign. So you can't really see it too much with the pencil itself, but I just started tracing this out first, and then later I could go back in with my black chalk paint and repaint everything. So once I have all my spots drawn on with my pencil, like I said, I'm just taking my black chalk paint and a very detailed paintbrush, and I am filling in all of those cow spots with the black paint. I want all the white portion to look like cows, essentially. I want it to be all nice and spotty. So you'll just continue this process all the way around your sign. I tried my best to not go over the stained portion of the sign, just the white portion. Now I want my sign to look very rustic, so I'm going to take some sandpaper and sand the entire thing. I also grabbed an 80 grit sandpaper to go over the black portion in the middle because I wanted that to look like it had a bunch of scratches in it. And then I also added some dry brushed white paint to the middle just to make it look like it had even more scratches in the paint. Use my Cricut Joy and some white Oracle vinyl that I get from expressionsvinyl.com to cut out this cut file. Now after I made this cut file, I went back on to RusticDesignsKY and found that she has a Etsy store, and I found this file. So I probably could have just bought that and saved myself so much time drawing and painting and creating my own hey y'all. So I'm gonna leave that listing to that SVG for you. So if you want to make this sign and make it super fast and easy, you can just buy her file. It's only $1.20 right now. It's 40% off. Typically it's normally $2, but you can buy it, download it, and then make this sign that much easier. And then I will go ahead and put that on my sign. I just kind of put it towards the bottom half of the black rectangle that we made. And then somehow this DIY turned into fall. I had just gone to Hobby Lobby that day and found a whole bunch of really cute fall florals. They were on sale, so they're $2.99 but 40% off. So I took one of these and I cut all the little stems off because I wanted to turn this into 2 little picks instead of just one. So I piled up all the little pieces that I wanted with some floral wire. I just tied all of these together, and then I made 2 little bunches of picks from the one. I put this in the right corner of my sign. I wanted it to be more off to the right rather than right in the middle. I grabbed some ribbon that I had in my stash, this really pretty orange striped ribbon. I believe it came from Michael's last year, and I love it. It's one of my favorites. I just tied this in a super simple bow. Since there are no right or wrong sides to this ribbon, I just tied it in a bow like you would your shoelaces, taking 2 loops and then just tying them together. I also grabbed some burlap fabric ribbon and I crossed the ends on top of each other scrunched up that middle and then used some floral wire to tie it right in the middle. And that is going to be the bottom bow first. So I'm going to layer these bows on top of each other. I just hot glued this to my greenery and then hot glued my orange ribbon right on top of that burlap ribbon. Lastly, I will dovetail the ends to all of my ribbon tails, and that's all you gotta do for this DIY. This turned out so cute. It's still farmhouse, looks adorable, but it has a fall twist to it. So honestly, I feel like you could leave this up all year round. It's really cute, but it is also perfect for fall time, and I can have some farmhouse fall decor in my home. For this DIY, I grabbed this sign from Hobby Lobby. It was on clearance for $3.24. My Hobby Lobby is having a huge clearance sale, so I'm able to pick up a whole bunch of signs like this, and I am going to repurpose them. So I am going to paint the middle portion of this sign with my Waverly chalk paint in Sage, and I did have to do a couple coats with this. I don't know why their new paint colors seem not as thick or full coverage as their typical paints, but I did, like I said, do several coats with this paint. I'm going to use a Chalk Couture transfer on this, so I'm going to take the Chalk Couture surface wax and I'm going to wax the entire front. Again, I do this to help with bleeding so that I don't get a ton of bleeding when I am doing my transfer on top of it. And then I grabbed the Happy Family transfer set. I'm going to do the wreath that says Love Lives Here, so I cut that off of my backing sheet. I'm going to center that onto my sign, and then using my velvet black chalk paste with a small squeegee, I'm going to go ahead and squeegee the entire transfer, get that paste all nice and on there, and then I can lift that transfer up, reveal this super cute image, and then wash it so that I make sure I can use it again. And that's all you have to do for this DIY. Super quick, super easy, and we just turned a more beachy sign into a farmhouse sign. For this DIY, I grabbed this wooden tag from Michael's. I believe it was on clearance or really on sale, so I only paid a couple dollars for it, but it was a little bit ago, so I don't remember the exact price. I'm going to start by painting the entire tag with my Waverly chalk paint in ink. I'm going to set that to the side to dry and take a cutting board from the Dollar Tree. Now I wanted this to be smaller, so I did cut this down to a smaller size, and I also wanted those edges to be squared instead of rounded. I'm going to take my Waverly chalk paint in white and give that one good coat on the front and the sides. I don't worry about painting the back since you're not going to see it. Now I grabbed these rub-on transfers from Redesign by Prima. I got mine off of Amazon. I'll have those linked in my Amazon store so you can find them. I think they're really fun to use, and I love the quality of images that they are. I think they look really nice. The print is really nice. So all I did was line this up onto my cutting board, and I used the little scraper that it came with and rubbed that onto my piece. Lastly, I'm just going to use my hot glue gun to put some hot glue on the back of that, center it onto my tag, and that is it for this DIY. You could definitely add some greenery and a bow, but I felt like with the greenery and the bow that were already on the image, it didn't need it. It needed to be a little bit more simple and plain, but of course you can make it however you want it and change it up from what I have done to it. But that is it for this one. I think it turned out really cute. And that's it for today's video. Let me know which project was your favorite in the comments down below. I will have all the links that you need in my description box where you can find the items that we used in today's video. Again, thank you guys so much for helping me hit 100,000 subscribers here on YouTube. I couldn't have imagined this day would come. It has been so long of working towards this goal, and I am so excited that it's finally here. So thank you so much to all of you amazing supporters here on YouTube. I couldn't do any of this without you, so I'm so grateful. Keep an eye out for that giveaway announcement next week. I'll be doing a bunch of fun crafting goodies as a thank you to helping me hit this goal. If you guys are new to my channel and you aren't subscribed, I hope that you stick around, hit that red subscribe button, and become part of my little crafting family here on YouTube. Give this video a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!